Welcome. It's fantastic to have you joining us today for this custom-tailored deep dive.
Yeah, so glad you're here with us.
We've got an incredibly exciting topic on the table today, one that is, literally reshaping the world right outside your window.
Absolutely.
We're looking at the highly positive, incredibly dynamic second wave of global electrification happening right now,
Mm,
and we're talking about 2026.
right now.
If you felt like the electric vehicle market has been a bit chaotic or hard to read lately, our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We're
Exactly.
going to show you exactly how this industry is stabilizing, how the innovation is just accelerating, and why the technology is actually becoming more accessible and reliable than ever before.
It's a completely different landscape now.
It really is. And to do this, we've gathered a phenomenal stack of sources for you.
Really great data this time.
Yeah. We're pulling insights from a Q1 2026 global EV ranking report by TrendForce. We also have a massive market forecast from Astute Analytica, plus a fascinating academic paper on sodium battery development, and a really insightful Italian market update focusing on this exact 2026 transition.
It's a great mix of sources.
So, okay, let's unpack this. The EV market has officially grown up.
It has.
We're looking at total global sales volumes hitting 17.8 million units back in 2025.
Which is huge.
Yeah, that means electric vehicles captured 21.4% of all new passenger vehicles sold worldwide.
Yeah, and that 20% threshold, I mean, that is a major milestone.
Right.
We've completely transitioned out of what analysts call the hype cycle.
Yeah.
The days of speculative pre-revenue startups dominating the headlines. That's just fading into the background.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Right. What we're seeing now in 2026 is a phase of profound industrial rationalization.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation has shifted from just proving the technology works to manufacturing efficiency and unit economics. It's just a much more mature, stable landscape.
But, when you dig into the Astute Analytica report, it shows we're looking at a two-track market right now.
Very true.
The growth rates are diverging based on regional maturity. Like in China, the market is highly saturated and hyper-competitive.
Oh, incredibly competitive.
A staggering 42% of all new car sales there are now electric.
42%.
Yeah, 42. Meanwhile, in the West, so places like the US and Europe, we're seeing growth stabilize at a very steady 16%.
Right.
But wait, if EVs are capturing over 20% of the global market, why are cars sitting on dealer lots for 92 days in the US right now?
Yeah, that's the big question.
I mean, that sounds like a massive drop in demand.
It does, but that's a common misconception. You have to look at the macroeconomic environment, specifically the cost of capital.
Interest rates.
Exactly. Interest rates have a profound impact on auto sales across the board, whether it's gas or electric. With auto loan rates sitting around 7.8% in the U.S. and 6.5% in the Eurozone, the math for the consumer fundamentally shifted.
Right.
Financing an average vehicle became about 22% more expensive in monthly payments compared to just a few years ago.
Wow, 22%.
Yeah. So that 92 days sales of inventory metric, it doesn't mean people don't want the cars. It just means
Right.
production temporarily caught up with and slightly outpaced the immediate demand at those specific higher end of price points.
Gotcha.
Buyers are just taking a little longer to pull the trigger.
That makes a lot of sense. The broader market forces are definitely playing a huge role.
Oh, absolutely.
And the sources also highlight some major geopolitical and pricing shifts driving consumer choices right now.
Right. We have to look at the policy side neutrally here.
Exactly, just reporting what the sources say. In the U.S., the Inflation Reduction Act's Foreign Entity of Concern rules, the FEOC, have disqualified vehicles using Chinese battery components from tax credits.
Hmm.
And over in the EU, definitive tariffs ranging from 10 to 25% have been placed on Chinese EVs.
Yeah.
At the exact same time, the geopolitical situation in the Middle East has heavily impacted global oil markets.
So massively.
Crude oil has pushed over $100 a barrel, with projections suggesting it could hit $150.
Which is painful at the pump.
Extremely. To put that in perspective for everyday driving, the Italian market update notes that diesel on the highway has hit 2.10 per liter.
And what's fascinating here is how those traditional fuel costs completely alter the total cost of ownership equation.
Right.
When you have diesel and gasoline prices soaring to those extremes, the economic advantage of charging a vehicle at home becomes undeniable.
Totally undeniable.
It's an overwhelming financial incentive.
Yeah.
This dynamic is a massive catalyst driving this second wave of adoption. Even if the initial sticker price of an EV is slightly higher or those interest rates are annoying, The daily operating savings are just too significant for the average commuter to ignore.
And the automakers who are capitalizing on this are shifting the entire brand landscape.
You really are.
The TrendForce report notes a massive headline. BYD has officially overtaken Tesla in battery electric vehicle sales.
Which really signals a deeper industry transition. Yeah, the era of the Silicon Valley tech disruptor dominating EVs is giving way to the era of the hyper-efficient, vertically integrated manufacturing giant.
Right.
BYD makes almost every single component of their cars in-house, which gives them incredible pricing power.
You also see legacy automakers like Hyundai and Kia doing incredibly well because they committed early to building dedicated EV platforms like their eGMP.
Yes.
For anyone unfamiliar, a dedicated platform is basically designing the car as a giant skateboard of batteries from the ground up.
Rather than taking an old gas car and trying to stuff batteries where the engine and exhaust used to be.
Exactly. And because Hyundai and Kia went with the skateboard approach, they're hitting 4 to 8% gross margins, which is very solid for legacy transitions.
Very solid.
On the flip side, the laggards who tried to just retrofit gas cars are losing thousands of dollars per vehicle.
Yeah, you just can't compete that way anymore.
No, you can't. But the real secret weapon for the winners right now isn't just the chassis. Here's where it gets really interesting. The whole industry paradigm has shifted from an era of range at all costs to a new era of cost per kilowatt hour.
And that is the defining shift of 2026.
Right.
The chemistry dominating the landscape right now is lithium iron phosphate, or LFP. It now holds a commanding 58% global market share.
Wow.
It is completely eating into the older NMC chemistries, which stands for nickel manganese cobalt. The industry is moving away from NMC because LFP crossed a magic affordability threshold, hitting a pack-level cost of just $75 per kilowatt hour.
And beyond just being cheaper, it solves a lot of supply chain headaches, right?
It does. It completely ditches cobalt, which is historically expensive, and it ditches nickel, which has highly volatile pricing.
Yeah.
LFP is incredibly safe, it easily lasts thousands of charging cycles, and it's the specific chemistry making the mass-market, affordable EV a profitable reality for automakers.
But the innovation isn't stopping with LFP.
No, not at all.
Well, the Italian market update highlights that 2026 is bringing future tech right into the present. We're seeing brands like Sherry and Anwa announcing solid-state battery prototypes with energy densities of 400 to 500 watt-hours per kilogram.
Which is game-changing.
It is. To put that in real-world terms, we are talking about the promise of 1,500 kilometers of range on a single charge.
That's incredible.
Imagine driving from New York to Chicago without stopping to plug in, all without the battery weighing down the car like a tank.
Right.
Plus, automakers like BYD and Tesla are using cell-to-chassis integration, physically building the battery cells into the structural frame of the car to ditch heavy modules.
Yeah, shedding that excess weight.
And the Volkswagen Group and Volvo's new SPA3 platform are utilizing silicon carbide inverters, which reduces energy loss by a massive 20%.
And those silicon carbide inverters are a perfect example of unseen efficiency.
How so?
Think of a traditional inverter, like a leaky garden hose. You lose a lot of water, or in this case, electrical energy as heat, when transferring power from the battery to the motor.
Okay, yeah.
Silicon carbide is like upgrading to a high-pressure, perfectly sealed power washer. It switches electricity on and off much faster and runs much cooler, which translates directly to more miles driven on the same amount of charge.
That's a brilliant way to picture it.
Thanks.
But perhaps the most disruptive technological shift highlighted in our sources, specifically that academic paper we reviewed, is the rise of sodium-ion batteries.
This is a huge topic.
It really is. And to understand why this is such a big deal, you just have to look at geological abundance. Lithium is actually quite rare, accounting for roughly 0.00065% of the Earth's crust.
Very small amount.
Right. Sodium, on the other hand, is everywhere. It makes up 2.64% of the Earth's crust. It is essentially the same element found in table salt.
And because that raw material is so abundant, the preparation cost drops significantly. The paper cites sodium at 0.29 yuan per watt hour. In US dollars, that's roughly 4 cents per watt hour, compared to lithium sitting closer to 6 cents.
The cost is great, but the real jaw dropper for me is how sodium handles extreme environments.
The temperature ranges.
Exactly. We all saw those viral news stories a few years ago of EVs stranded at charging stations during freezing Chicago winters because the batteries were too cold to accept a charge.
Right, a major PR nightmare for the industry.
Well, sodium batteries operate comfortably from -40 degrees to 80 degrees Celsius.
Which is a massive range.
At -20 degrees, a sodium battery retains over 92% of its capacity. That completely crushes lithium iron phosphate, which drops to around 60 to 70% in those freezing conditions.
It's remarkable.
And plus, you can discharge a sodium battery down to literally 0 volts for transport without damaging it, which you absolutely cannot do with lithium.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, sodium isn't stepping in to kill the lithium battery market. It is perfectly complementing it.
Yeah.
Sodium batteries are slightly heavier and have a lower energy density, so you aren't going to see them in a luxury long-range SUV.
Right, they have their own niche.
Exactly. They are perfectly suited for what the industry calls a winter-class vehicles.
Like the city cars.
Yeah, these are those ultra-compact, hyper-efficient micro-city cars that are already in mass production, like the newly delivered JC Atrium or the jangling EV3.
Makes perfect sense.
It's also the perfect chemistry for e-bikes, scooters, and crucial stationary home energy storage. By using sodium for the smaller stuff, it frees up the premium lithium supply for the larger vehicles that truly need that high energy density.
Which perfectly sets up the infrastructure puzzle. Because, as the sources point out, the real bottleneck we're facing globally isn't actually mining lithium out of the ground, it's refining it.
That's the real choke point.
Right now, China controls roughly 72% of global lithium refining capacity and an incredible 90% of anode processing.
90%.
And the anode is basically the negative side of the battery. Think of it as the parking lot where the electrons sit when the battery is fully charged.
Right.
Building up the facilities to manufacture those components takes years. Then, when you look at the physical charging infrastructure, there's a big disparity in reliability that is creating friction for buyers. In the US, non-Tesla public chargers have a 78% uptime. That means roughly 1 in 5 attempts to charge might fail.
Which is frustrating.
Very. Meanwhile, Tesla's supercharger network is hitting 99.9% reliability.
The public charging experience definitely still needs refinement, but the data from Astute Analytica provides a very positive reframe on how we actually fuel these vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the media focuses heavily on public fast charging stations, treating them like direct replacements for gas stations.
True, everyone talks about fast chargers.
But the reality is that level 2 AC normal chargers, the slower ones in homes, workplaces, and retail parking lots, actually make up 87.5% of the entire charging market.
Oh, wow.
The future of EV fueling isn't standing at a pump for 5 minutes. It is based on the concept of dwell time. It's convenient charging while you sleep at home, or while your car is parked at the office for 8 hours.
So what does this all mean for the electrical grid? Because the common worry you hear is that if everyone comes home at 5 p.m. and plugs in an EV, the neighborhood transformer is going to blow up.
Yeah, but that's the old way of thinking about the grid. This is where vehicle-to-grid technology, or V2G, completely flips the script.
Right.
Instead of blowing out 50-year-old neighborhood transformers, EVs equipped with V2G are actively fixing the grid.
Fixing it.
Yes. We're seeing the rollout of the ISO 151-1820 standard. That's essentially the universal software language that allows your car to securely talk to the power grid. With that standard, your car acts as a virtual power plant.
Give me a real-world example of what that looks like.
Okay, think about a fleet of 10,000 electric school buses. They have massive 200 kilowatt-hour batteries, and they sit completely idle during the peak heat of the summer when school is out.
Oh, right.
With VDG, that idle fleet can literally power a small city during a heat wave, discharging power back into the grid when air conditioning demand is highest and the grid is most stressed.
That is brilliant.
Then they recharge late at night when power is cheap and abundant. The Italian market update specifically points out new 2026 tax breaks, like the Iperamortamento, which are designed to heavily encourage businesses and homeowners to install exactly this kind of smart storage and bidirectional charging.
It is turning a depreciating asset sitting in your driveway into a functional, revenue-generating piece of community infrastructure.
Exactly.
And speaking of fleets, the commercial sector is seeing a massive divide based entirely on the physics of logistics.
Right?
For last-mile delivery, think your Amazon or DHL vans, electric vehicles officially hit total cost of ownership parity with diesel back in 2024.
Which makes perfect sense when you look at how they operate.
Yeah.
A delivery van stops 150 times a day.
Yeah.
With an electric motor, regenerative braking captures the energy from every single one of those stops and puts it back into the battery.
Versus diesel.
A diesel van just wastes all that momentum as heat radiating off the brake pads. Because of those short, highly predictable routes, the return on investment for electric delivery vans is undeniable.
But the astute report notes that long-haul heavy trucking is a completely different story, and it comes down to payload.
Yeah, the weight limits.
To get a fully loaded 18-wheeler to travel 500 miles on a single charge, you need a battery pack so massive that it eats up 4,000 to 5,000 pounds of your payload capacity.
That's a huge penalty.
Since commercial trucks have strict legal weight limits on the highway, every pound of battery is a pound of cargo you can't get paid to haul. Dead weight doesn't pay freight.
Right.
That dynamic destroys the profit margins for long-haul logistics, which is actively paving the way for hydrogen fuel cells to dominate the heavy trucking sector.
And all of this fleet transition, whether it's Amazon vans, passenger cars, or hydrogen trucks, is being heavily accelerated by regulatory pressures.
Definitely.
The Euro 7 standards coming into effect and the U.S. EPA rules, which require a 50% fleet-wide emission reduction by 2032, are essentially legally forcing original equipment manufacturers to hit a 60% EV sales mix.
Just structurally forcing it?
It is mathematically impossible for automakers to comply and avoid billions in fines without pushing high volumes of zero-emission vehicles.
Now, looking ahead to the rest of the decade, the reports do highlight a few potential hurdles, and we want to outline these risk assessments neutrally, just looking at the market dynamics.
Right. This raises an important question. What could actually slow down these highly optimistic forecasts?
Yeah.
The analysts identify three primary risks.
Okay, what's the first one?
First is a technical risk. Solid-state batteries are highly anticipated, but they still have to overcome issues like dendrite formation.
Right.
Dendrites are essentially microscopic needle-like metallic structures that can grow inside the battery over time and eventually cause a short circuit. If the industry can't solve that at mass scale, the market might face a technical disappointment.
And the second risk?
The second is political. There is a possibility that shifting political winds in the West could lead to the repeal of the 2035 internal combustion engine bans. If those mandates are removed, it takes away the regulatory stick that is currently forcing automakers to innovate so quickly.
Got it. And the third?
Finally, there is the geopolitical supply chain risk. If global tensions were to escalate and the West totally decoupled from China's component supply chain overnight, analysts estimate it would cause a massive 5 to 7 year delay in EV adoption as the U.S. and Europe scrambled to rebuild that refining and processing capacity from scratch.
It is a complex ecosystem to navigate, but the overriding takeaway from our deep dive today is exceptionally positive.
Oh, incredibly positive.
The 2026 EV market is just an incredible space right now. We are way past the early adopter hype. Costs are actively dropping. New chemistries like LFP and sodium are making cars cheaper to build, completely eliminating winter range anxiety and utilizing abundant materials.
Yeah.
And software technologies like vehicle-to-grid are literally turning the cars we drive into grid-saving assets that make our cities more resilient.
It is a profound paradigm shift in how we interact with energy. I'll leave you with this final thought to mull over. If your next car can power your house during a blackout, utilizing a battery made from a material as remarkably abundant as table salt, are you really just buying a mode of transportation anymore? Or are you actually purchasing your own personal decentralized power plant?
What an incredible perspective to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We absolutely love exploring these sources with you, unpacking these massive technological shifts, and sharing these aha moments. We hope you walk away feeling informed and inspired, and we cannot wait to see you next time.